Mr. Gary Abbamont, Assistant Superintendent, and Miss Beth Bauer, Middle School Principal, have joined us today to discuss one aspect of the district's Achievement Gap 10-year attack plan. Mr. Abbamont and Mrs. Bauer serve as co-leaders on one of 10 Achievement Sub-Gap committees. Sub-gaps are believed to create learning barriers that impede a student's ability to succeed. The committee's job is to identify those barriers and develop strategies to remove them. Starting with the communication sub-gap, we are pleased to have the co-leaders share their findings with us. How do you define the communications gap?
The communications gap is really the difference between those with access to multiple modes of communication and those without access.
How do we know there's a communications gap?
Well, actually, one of our challenges as a team is really to kind of figure out where this gap is and how do we know it's actually there. And so the very first way we figure this out is at the registration table. When a family comes to Wissahickon to register a child and speaks with our registering staff, and we realize that there might be a language gap and we need to think about how to support them. So that's one of our ways of doing that. Another method is the translation box that we have on our registration forms, and families will check that to see if there is actually a need for translation while they're here with us in the district. From that checkbox, we form a hard copy list that we have at each of our schools that's available to our principals and our staff to know that, in fact, we do need to send home hard copies because internet access is not available. In addition to that, our families will indicate to us on those forms if they need translation of hard copies or phone translation using our language line, which is another tool available to us to support our families needing that translation service.
What are the current plans to attack the communications gap?
Well, there's a number of things that we're already doing and some things that we're discussing for next year. Currently, we're using School Messenger as a way to communicate with our families, either electronically or through the phone, and there's an option to have that information translated into 4 different languages. Also, many teachers are using Bing and Google as a form of translation for different classroom documents that they're sending home. We're utilizing TransPerfect and TransAct, and those are companies that we're using for some district forms, some standardized forms that we need to have translated for our families. We're also working on creating a team of volunteers to do some translation, whether it's students here at the high school, some staff members in the district, or also family and community members. And then also we're looking at possibly for next year a graduation project for students to serve as translators as one of their senior projects. We've also met with a number of students, high school students, and some family members, and we've got some information from them in terms of what challenges there are with our current communication methods, and we've looked at that information. We've done a language line refresher in all of our buildings where we've trained the staff, both the support staff and the professional staff, in how to utilize language line to better communicate with people. And as Mr. Abbamont mentioned, we do have the list of families that require either hard copies because they don't have internet access or translated copies, and we've been utilizing those lists to better communicate with people. So those are some of the things that we're currently doing.
Thank you for joining us today. From WTVI and Wissahickon School District, have a great day.